All right, thanks for joining me. I'm going to go through and just share the science behind Product B Isagenesis, what a telomere is, and what does that have to do with our health and aging, and then just give you a little brief overview on the lifestyle of Isagenix with some of their other products. So here we go. Before I get started, I just want to give the disclaimer. We're not here to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any illnesses or diseases. And as we talk about incomes and anything like that, they're based on individual efforts. There's no fixed or guaranteed income promises. All right, so I want to get right to the meat of this, and that is Product B, Isagenesis. And John Anderson, who you're seeing on the right there on the ISA News magazine, stated that this is the greatest discovery of our time. And Bill Andrews on the left, who was featured in Popular Science as a geneticist, and he partnered up with John Anderson. He was kind of in a stalemate in his research, and he's accredited with identifying human telomerase. And so we're going to go into talking about what that is and what these two gentlemen have done in their own right, and then what they've done together. So I want to start out with the human cell. In the middle there, you're looking at the nucleus, which contains the chromosomes. This is really the epicenter. This is the brain of the cell, and your DNA is the software. It gives the marching orders to everything else in the cell, and then that cell operates on the level that the marching orders are dictated. So the telomere or telomere, however you prefer to say that, is being depicted on the tips of the chromosomes here in red. And they were discovered in the 1930s. They didn't really know much about them. As technology progressed, they saw that the ends of the telomeres were wearing away, and that was causing some damage to the DNA. So the DNA being these little steps in what looks like a twisted ladder. So that's the important stuff. They've linked every symptom of aging and every degenerative disease to the DNA being damaged as the telomere gets shorter and shorter. So I'll show you on the next slide the length of the telomeres and what that looks like as far as aging. But the shorter the telomere, the length of the telomere, the more problems you have with your health, whether it's symptoms of aging like gray hair, wrinkled skin, endurance isn't as good, to every degenerative disease has been linked to the shortening of the telomere. So the shorter it gets, the more health problems we have. It's really our nemesis. So Bill Andrews has been dedicating his life to figuring out what can we do about this. Now, within the cell, well, two things. Telomeres shorten in two ways that I'm going to talk about here. One is there's a system within the cell that could prevent the telomere from getting short. And then that needs to be fueled with nutrition. And we fall short of supplying what's called telomerase, that system within the cell and the chromosome itself. We fall short of supporting that nutritionally. Another way is accelerated telomere shortening, and that happens through environmental issues like toxicity, stress, and things like that. In fact, USA Today in April 2012, it was a front page story saying that pre-teenagers, their telomeres were 10 years shorter than they should be, than they used to be, because of this accelerated damage. And I think it's accumulated with the processed foods as well. So not only is there not an adequate amount of nutrition in our produce, our fruits, vegetables, and grains, most people are eating a lot of processed foods as their main staples. So we're really hitting it from both angles. It's like burning the candle at both ends. And that's verified by the Surgeon General, who said that this generation of children won't outlive their parents. Their lifespan is going backwards for the first time. Now, telomerase is the system within the chromosome that prevents the telomere from getting shorter and from causing the damage to the DNA. How do we know that? Well, we know that in reproductive cells, the telomere never gets short. So year after year, decade after decade, as we get older, our cells, the reproductive cells, the actual sperm and egg cells, they don't get older. Uh, Chronologically, yeah, but physiologically, no, they don't age. And that's the proof that we see in that as lay people is, and not as a scientist, is that a younger baby comes out of an older person. Well, the younger baby inherits ageless cells within the parents. Now, every cell contains telomerase. It's just that the reproductive cells, the body, some miraculous way is making sure that telomerase is being fully activated in the reproductive cells. But it's in every cell. It's in our skin cells. It's in our bone cells. It's everywhere in every cell. But we're suppressing it, and it's at an all-time high for how we've been suppressing it. Now, Bill Andrews, telomerase. So what telomerase does is every time what it should do and what it is doing in the reproductive cells is every time the telomere gets short, the telomerase builds it back out. So let me just back that up one. Damaged telomere, telomerase fixes the telomere. And they didn't really know much about that until just recently, and we'll go through that. But if your telomeres didn't get short, then you wouldn't experience the degenerative issues. You wouldn't experience the symptoms of aging. You would live a healthy, high quality life until you passed away for whatever other reasons. But most people are dying from degenerative diseases today, and that's because of the telomere being compromised and telomerase being suppressed. Now, Bill Andrews, who was featured in Popular Science, as the man who would stop time. It was one of the longest articles on one person ever, about 14 pages long. He identified human telomerase. And after identifying it, he started working with telomerase because once you can see it, now you can start to work with it and develop the equipment. And that's what he's dedicated his life to. Now, we're all familiar with a household plant. Maybe we've neglected a plant. I think all of us might be guilty of killing a household plant. And it looks like this plant here on the left is about to die, right? It's discolored. It's not as, the leaves are wilting and falling off. So the plant looks pretty close to death. But when you start to nurture that plant, it'll actually restore itself and the negative appearances will go away. So you can see to the right where the plant was nurtured and given what it needed, and it started to thrive again. So in comparison with this living plant with cells and molecular processes going on as a living thing, just replace that with this old person here. Here's the old person here having issues, obviously looking like life is a challenge, and then getting back to here. That's what this plant literally did. Now that sounds like science fiction as a human being, but if we have damaged, let me go back here a little bit. If we have damaged DNA that's giving marching orders to the cells, and then we fix that DNA or we restore it, then what you're going to see is a restoration of the cell itself, whether it's a skin cell, hair cell, eye cells, muscular cells. Doesn't matter. Every symptom of aging and every degenerative disease is traced back to the loss of the DNA. So if that DNA was never lost, you would really maintain a healthy quality of life physiologically. So that's where the research was at this time. This was in 1994 when Bill Andrews identified the telomerase. Now, there was already a lot of research around the telomere. So I made a chromosome out of a rope and used red electrical tape. And Bill would use the example of a shoestring and say, pretend the plastic tip is the telomere. So when it's this length right here, the red is the telomere and it's healthy. It's all in contact when we're conceived. And it's 15,000 bases long. So from the base of the telomere to the top of the telomere, they measure it in bases, 15,000 bases long. By the time you're a pre-teenager, you've already lost some telomere. So it damages the DNA. It kind of frays. Those nucleic bonds come apart. So this would be a pre-teenager. They're already experiencing degenerativeness in the in the cells. It's just not enough yet to show up physiologically. But in today's lifestyle, it is, because there are kids that are having health issues with degenerative diseases before they're even teenagers now. And remember, every degenerative disease and every symptom of aging is linked to the shortening of the telomere. That you can't refute that, because that's Nobel Prize winning research, 2009. It was awarded the Nobel Prize. So in middle age, we're lost half of our telomere. And so now it's pretty obvious physiologically. We don't age because we're blowing out more candles as the years go by. We age because of the length of our telomere. So we see some people that are younger looking, even though they're the same age chronologically. That's because their telomeres are healthier. They're longer. They've been eating things and supporting their bodies in the ways that they can, with antioxidants and proper nutrition and less stress, less exposure to chemicals, and those chemicals getting into our bodies, whether it's food, water, or air. When our telomeres get to a certain length, we die. It's called senescence, death of the cell. That's at 5,000 bases. So as you're getting closer and closer to 5,000 bases in your cells, that's really going to show up. It's really going to debilitate the person, because they're not able to function. And so we call that old age, and challenges in life with degenerative issues. Well, that's because those cells aren't functioning as well, and it's because the DNA has been lost. So this would be all damaged DNA. So those cells are barely surviving. When they hit right around 5,000 bases, there's no more surviving. They shut down. And like I said, people are dying of degenerative issues at younger and younger ages. Why? Because we're compromising the telomere and telomerase. So that's kind of a good visual of taking a look at what's going on inside our cells in the nucleus. Now, so Bill Andrews was credited with identifying human telomerase in 1994. And so once you could see it, he started inventing the equipment and working with human skin cells in a petri dish. And he was actually able to activate the telomerase and get it to work like it was working in the reproductive cells. The skin cells were actually not taking on a degenerative nature anymore as they divided. There was no limit to the amount of times the cells would divide. So then from there it was, okay, how do we activate it in humans effectively and safely? And that's where they've been stuck. They've been using, they searched, well, I'll show you a graph here in a minute. They've done over $30 million in testing and have tried over 304,000 compounds to try and activate telomerase. And they found some that worked, but the only ones that worked in the petri dish were chemicals that were too harmful to take as a human. They would have caused severe side effects. But before that, Bill Andrews partnered up and shared his knowledge with Dr. Ronald DeFino, who headed up a research team combined with Harvard. And they were able to actually activate the telomerase in mice. So this next clip that I'm going to show you is ABC News clip talking about what happened to these mice when they activated the telomerase. Now remember, mice are mammals just like us.
And now, eternal youth. Is it in a cage around the corner? News tonight of a breakthrough for some pioneering mice. But we always wonder, what does a fountain of youth for rodents reveal for humans? Here's Sharon Alfonsi reporting.
I feel tremendous.
In the movie Cocoon, it's a swimming pool that turns back the clock for a group of senior citizens. But now researchers have found a way not just to stop, but reverse the aging process. The key is something called a telomere. We all have them. They're the tips or caps of your chromosome, seen here in yellow. This is what it looks like in a young adult. But as you grow older, the telomeres become damaged and frayed, and as they stop working, we start aging, experiencing things like hearing and memory loss. Scientists took mice who were prematurely aged, added an enzyme, and essentially turned their telomeres back on. You can see it before the enzyme, after.
Their brain function improved, their fertility was restored. It was a remarkable reversal of the aging process.
Look at this picture. The mouse on the right has bad skin, gray hair, and is balding. But the one on the left had its telomeres flipped back on.
And you could see that essentially you now have a dark coat color, that the hair is restored, that the coat has a nice healthy sheen to it.
Even more dramatic, the change in brain size. This is...
Whoops. Oh no. Let's see if I can fast forward that. Sorry. Here we
dark
go.
coat color, that the hair is restored, that the coat has a nice healthy sheen to it.
Even more dramatic, the change in brain size. This is before the mice had 75% of a normal brain, like a patient with severe Alzheimer's. But after the telomeres were reactivated, the brain returns to normal size.
So wow, right? So they start out the clip. What if we could show you a way that you could actually reverse aging? Well, they did in mammals, in these mice. Now these are living mice; they're not a plant. They were studying telomerase in plants and recognized what was going on as a plant was near death, and then it lost those symptoms and became a healthy plant again. So this is the next step. It's going into these mice, which are living. So before Bill Andrews was able, got to this point, there was still a lot of unknowing. They didn't know what would happen if you could lengthen the telomere. But in the mice, it absolutely showed. They got their mental capacity back, their hair was restored, their skin. In fact, in the articles that have been written up, these papers about these mice, it was phenomenal. It reversed all of the symptoms of aging and the degenerative issues within the mice, from their bone to their skin, to their brain, to their activity level, which would be cardiovascular system, muscular system, all of that. And not only did they get their mental capacity back, but it actually grew the brain back. So this is before, and this is after it was activated. So the body atrophies, like things shrink, right? You lose muscle, you lose bone. Well, you lose lean tissue as well. So it actually even restored the lean tissue. Now, these two are the same chronologically, so if their birthdays were today, they would blow out the same amount of candles. But this one physiologically looks much younger and is going to be more active and more of a cognitive ability to be able to function at a high level, a normal level. So this is where it really showed the possibilities of what was capable. So what they saw that got them excited was when they activated telomerase. So here's the telomerase gene, here's the DNA. And so when it activated telomerase, here's the damaged DNA. What they saw is the DNA repaired itself. And prior to that, there was no school of thought that that was even a possibility. Nobody had ever witnessed anything like that. So this was a first. This was a huge breakthrough when it comes to understanding what the possibilities are. So this all happens in the middle of the cell, down at where the marching orders are given to the cells. And then they saw what that meant in a real live, mammal, a physical mammal, which again, we're mammals. That's why they use mice. So this is, again, a huge breakthrough. This is what caused all the excitement around telomeres, was when they did this with the mice, because now they saw in real life with living mammals what the possibilities were. Now, Bill Andrews, like I said, has been striving to make this possible for humans, and they had spent over $30 million and tested over 304,000 compounds. Each one of these red lines represents a compound that activated or induced the telomerase in the human skin cells. So there's 8 of them. Out of 304,000, they got 8. And they tried natural, they tried pharmaceutical, and they even made their own chemicals that didn't exist. Out of all of 8, they were all too toxic to use for humans. So this is by 2009, over a decade later, almost 2 decades from when they first identified telomerase, that they were still at square one in making this possible for humans in a safe way where we could induce telomerase. Now remember, telomerase is a natural occurring event within the body. It's already happening in our bodies. It's just that we're suppressing it. As human beings, we've made a science out of killing ourselves, literally. So Bill Andrews was introduced to a nutritional formulator, John Anderson, who happens to be the formulator of the company that I was with since 2005. And I was out lecturing about health and John Anderson's nutritional products. He's been formulating for over 39 years now, and he's formulated for over 600 companies, 2,500 different health products. In fact, he started his own company after being a private label manufacturer. He started his own company called Isagenix in 2002. And the reason is because all these other companies were compromising his formulations that they were hiring him to design. And he searched the world over. I mean, his passion is really understanding what science has to offer for the human anatomy. And he learned a lot. In fact, some things that are very unique to John Anderson in working with over 600 companies. He became a master formulator, herbalist. His nickname is the Mineral Man by his colleagues. And he'll go down in history for enzymatic processes, which help us to assimilate the nutrients that we're putting into our bodies. And then also synergistically putting things together so that they can really enhance or be assimilated in a way that it supports different areas of the body. So there was a gentleman named Peter Greenlaw who suggested to Bill, hey, I know this formulator who works in a very unique way, in his own style and formulating ability nobody's ever been able to copy or mimic or even come close to. Why don't you see if he can help you with some nutritional ways of supporting telomerase, get back to like a holistic approach. And Bill at first said, no, we've already exhausted the plant world. We've tried everything we could get our hands on. And so Peter just continued to be persistent and said, yeah, but I don't think you've tried it the way that John Anderson knows how. So eventually Peter did win out and got Bill to meet with John. And so in 2009, they're announcing their collaboration publicly. And I was there, and I was able to be involved in some conversations that the general public wasn't privy to. And so I realized the responsibility of helping people to understand just exactly what's come about and helping to take on these challenges. Now, from this point on, we're talking about a nutritional supplement. So I'm not saying that Product B is going to cure any diseases or degenerative issues. We're just going to give the body its best chance to support it with a nutritional supplement that has come about because of the partnership between Bill and John. Bill started teaching John Anderson, the formulator, about telomerase on the level that you would need to know as a nutritional formulator. And John got super excited. He says, wow, I really thought I contributed to humanity, in the way that I was going to with the products that I've already developed. But what you're teaching me about telomerase, man, I feel like everything's prepared me for this. In fact, I'm going to build a brand new lab on my ranch so I can work in there for 14 or more hours a day and, just be able to walk right in the house when I want to. And he started bringing in the equipment and based on what Bill was teaching him. And John said, I feel very optimistic. I would have formulated for telomerase a long time ago. I just didn't know about it. I didn't know how important of a role it played. And so being partnered up with Bill Andrews was key in that. And also in this collaboration, Bill Andrews is going to be able to vet the ingredients that John Anderson puts together based on what he now knows. So John's going to take his knowledge that he has of telomerase now, start to formulate a nutritional product based on what his mind already understands about supporting human anatomy, and then send those formulations over to Bill's lab. This is really important because Bill has the only lab in the world that could check for telomerase induction in human skin cells. He invented the equipment. And so that would be important to know, right? If you're going to have a nutritional supplement, have it vetted to see if it's really working. So this was a great collaboration in a lot of ways, a lot of different dynamics. So now John built the lab, started formulating, and started sending them over to Bill's lab. Bill, this is an interview and a documentary that was put together about Bill Andrews. And in it, he talks about John Anderson and the hard time that they were having finding something safe to induce telomerase, and then John Anderson sending over some formulations. Listen to what he says here.
We'd seen for natural products, and we were pretty excited. It was the 11th compound we tested out of the first 15 samples that John Anderson sent us, and it was a hit. So we use the term hit in science a lot. So when we screen a lot of samples, we'll screen like thousands of samples at a time. But, I have to confess, at first we thought, wow, was he extremely lucky? Because we thought, how could he only be asking us to screen 15 samples? After screening thousands without a hit, we need a lot more samples than 15 if we're expecting to get a hit. But he got a hit. So he sends us another 15, and we get another hit.
So this is pretty dramatic here. And being privy to this like I was, and there was a few other people that were as well, but the vast majority of people have no idea what happened. And so it's up to us to go out and share. And so what he was saying was, yeah, we found some, but they were too toxic. John Anderson sent over some formulations, 15 of them, and we got a hit from an all natural ingredient. He says, wow, this guy, is really lucky. But then he sends over another 15 and gets another hit. So these are from natural ingredients that are already being used by humans. But how's John getting these ones to work? Because they tried them over here and they didn't work. Within less than 100 attempts, they got those. And the longer the red line, the more effective. And the key thing to notice is that these are all natural. So these red lines are an indicator that whatever the formulation is, whatever the compound is, it activated telomerase in normal human skin cells in vitro. Now, these are the chemicals that did it and got the skin cells to become to where they wouldn't degenerate as they were dividing and living out their life. They were acting like the reproductive cells. So were these. And this was a big deal. And Bill Andrews says this will change the landscape of human health as we know it, because we're talking about the core foundation supporting the body on a DNA level, which is everything. They ended up finding 12 hits. You're looking at 7 here, and then the product was released in August of 2011. And it's been an incredible journey as I've been sharing this around the country. I've done over probably 2,000 presentations now, and I go back to the same places, and people are getting results. They bring friends. They want to know what they're doing, and it's just been an incredible experience to be a part of this and to share it on this level. Now, John Anderson didn't quit right here. He says, I'm going to make it better and better. In fact, he made it so much better that there was a press release that he passed up making it better, to which Bill Andrews would say passing that point would be impossible from a natural botanical. But he did it. From a natural botanical, he was able to induce telomerase on a level that Bill said would be impossible. And it's just continued to improve. They've improved it 4 times now. We're on what we call 4th generation Product B. And John Anderson's still working on it. And it works on a lot of different dimensions. We have a clinical study that shows that it's an incredible outlier when it comes to antioxidants and supporting catalase. It actually has been proven through a clinical study with middle-aged men and women to facilitate 31% more catalase within the human body, which is going to help ward off the effects of free radicals. And so it hits from different dimensions, different dynamics within the cell. The biggest one, though, being the telomerase dynamic, where it's been proven to induce telomerase naturally through the vetting in the normal human skin cells in vitro by Bill Andrews. So very exciting, and it's been exciting for this last. Product B has been out for about 5 years now, but still the general public, they don't know. They're clueless that there's a product like this. Even people in our company, I go around and do presentations, and I've done some recently where it wasn't with my team that I've been working with. It was for somebody else, and a lot of people did not even have a clue, and they're in the company Isagenix. We have like 60 different products, and this one just came out 5 years ago. So as I've been taking the product, it helped me to check off a bucket list. I took up motocross at 46 years old. I always wanted to do it. I just never had the opportunity to do it when I was younger. And so now I did. And I started riding motocross, and I had better endurance, and just have the vitality, the recovery from working out hard on that motocross bike. And it's just been an amazing experience for me to be able to have that experience of going out on a motocross track, learning how to do it, and then, at one level, mastering it. I took a 3rd place in my first race and then a 2nd place in my 2nd race. As I was going out for a pre-race day, I actually had an accident where I didn't come down right on a jump, and I shattered my left leg and I broke my right ankle. And in the process of that, I was laid up in bed for 6 weeks. And Isagenix has meal replacement. It's superfood, and it's better than any food that you could get at a grocery store. And so that's all I ate while I was in bed, while I took the Product B. And it sped up my recovery much faster than what the doctor had told me it would be. He said that I would be 6 months to a year before I could stand on my left leg, like just stand on it, put all my weight on it. Well, I knew that the nutrition I was putting into my body and what I was putting in with the Product B was going to just help my cells to communicate better, to be able to function more optimally, even in a scenario like this. And at 3 months, I was able to go down to the college at 3 months exactly and run up and down the stadium with no pain. That's at 3 months. He said 6 months to a year before I may be able to put all my weight on it. It's not even been in a year yet. It's been like, I think, barely over 7 months now. I work out. I do jump rope, work out. I do toe raises. I do squats. I do everything normal. There isn't anything that I'm debilitated on when it comes to working with my legs. And you can see no muscle atrophy. Laying in bed for 6 weeks. That's because of the protein that I was getting from the superfood that John Anderson put together, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end here. Just other people's results. Bill Andrews' wife, Molly, they're ultramarathon runners. She ran a 138-mile race. It goes from 13,000 feet to 18, back to 14, back to 18, and back down. And she didn't make it 2 years earlier, but here she is 2 years older, and this time she made it. She was the 7th person and the first female to cross that finish line in under 60 hours. Only 6 people had before her. It's just you run all the time. You don't stop to sleep in 60 hours. She did it in 59 hours. A year later, Bill Andrews was feeling so good, like I did with motocross. He said, I'm going to run this race. And he's the oldest person to complete it now. After Product B had been out for over a year, he said he was breaking records he'd set back when he was 40. And this is when he was 60. This is Amy Sauter's dad. I did a meeting at a dental office down in Wisconsin. And you can see the progression here. Like here, he was ready to go into a nursing home, she said. And as he was taking Product B, his body started to get the nourishment that it needed, just like the plant that was getting neglected. Look, and this is it. And this is, I don't know the exact date. It says on the back of this postcard, I need to go find it. It's in my briefcase or somewhere. She handed this to me, and I think he had been on the product for about 2 years at this point. Just a normal life. He never went into the nursing home, full capacity. She said he does a lot of stuff around town, a lot of charity work. This is Bob Sheridan. Now, I was able to witness this one personally, and I did a meeting in his home because his results were so astounding to him. He's in the Boxing Hall of Fame. He's known as the Colonel. And his cardiovascular system was just shot. He wasn't going to, he couldn't do things because the challenge that he had. And he got on Product B through my friends Dennis and Sharon Allen. And within a couple months, he asked me to come and do a meeting because people want to know what the heck was going on with him. He went back to work. He announces boxing matches. In fact, he's announced more title bouts by far than anybody. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. He had announced all of Muhammad Ali's fights. Well, Fight News, the whole boxing community was in an uproar, and they interviewed him. They're like, Bob, we thought we were going to lose you, and now you're back to work? What's going on? In fact, you look younger. He said, my wife Annie got me on this product called Product B. Says it right in the interview. And so then here he is sitting at home in his recliner, 72 years old. I mean, it looks like it's backwards, right? It should be the other way around. But when we can support the body and give it the nutrients it needs, like that plant, the body can do some miraculous things. It has innate capacities to run optimally. And this is the thing that we're learning, that we're sharing with people. This is a friend, Liddy's mother. I was there at their farm home when they took this picture. She's laying down, face down, flat, and she just didn't have great posture. And getting on Product B really helped her posture. In fact, she couldn't lift her chin off of her chest. And here she is at 80 years old. Her chin was like that on her chest all the time. She couldn't even stand up straight. And here she is at 83 years old and just looking great. They actually won Couple of the Year in Minnesota about 2 years ago. So it's phenomenal what the body's capable of when we give it what it needs. And Product B is all natural. We're just supporting the body nutritionally. John and Kathy Rhodes had phenomenal results. They shared it with Joseph, who wasn't able to drive anymore. He lost his license because of his eyesight. He was living in a bus in Arizona. He said, I could barely walk from the back of that bus to the front of the bus. To go up any stairs, I really needed help. He said, I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs on my own. But now he's living a fully engaged life. In fact, he bought an RV and drove around for 4 months, sharing his testimony. He built a strong team with Isagenix and really improved his financial situation. So did John and Kathy. They're six-figure income earners now in Isagenix, and just an incredible story of rejuvenation and vitality and being able to free up their lives in a lot of different ways. So to get started in Isagenix is $29 to get a membership. It's like a Costco membership, and everybody gets the product at the same time. I mean, not at the same time, at the same price. And you can buy whatever you want. Like I said, there's a lot of different products that John Anderson has now produced that are uncompromised. We do quality control. We get the best ingredients that are sourced. We inspect for contaminants in those ingredients and the quality of the ingredients every time they're dropped off. And then every third batch, we check it to make sure that what we say is actually in it. Along with the enzymatic processes that John Anderson is known for, you assimilate what you're putting in your body, and that's the key. So $29 gives you access to all the products, same price that I get them for. I paid for my membership. To renew my membership every year is $19. Because of the marketing program that Isagenix chose back in 2002, it saves them costs so that they can put more quality into the product. Marketing could cost up to 80% of what's being charged in a product to get it on the store, to help people become aware of it through celebrities, athletes, commercials, whatever, billboards. A product's cost could be up to 80%. I had no idea. And no wonder a lot of supplements and products are compromised and are not integritous. So when you get a membership, you're on a team. Whoever shared it with you, you're on their team, and it's a distribution team. And the way the company grows is by product users sharing. If you get great results, then automatically you want to share, or people are going to be asking you what you do. That's what happened to me. I wasn't interested in a business with Isagenix. Not that I wouldn't do an awesome business, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't really understand. And my results caused me to share, or forced me to share, because people asked, what am I doing? So I got the products at wholesale. And then I was interested in the business after about 6 weeks, because people that I had shared it with who had asked me about it, they had friends who wanted to know about it. So it really caused me to take a deeper look at the business side of it. And what I realized was that to do the business, I was already ordering the amount of products that I needed to be qualified. It's called 100 BV. And 100 BV means that I've ordered the minimal amount, and now as I enroll people and get them their own account, I could get paid 6% on every order that happens in my distribution center. So that's on everybody. I was already ordering the 100 BV. I didn't have to buy inventory and put up more money and then go and try and sell those products and be pressured that way to be a salesperson. What I was doing was just sharing my story, and for people that were interested enough, they got their own membership. And I taught them how to do that and gave them, educated them on everything that was there for them. And that turned into a very lucrative business for me without any money being risked, because I never had any inventory. It was just the most incredible thing I had ever witnessed in my life. It really changed our lives. I was a struggling mechanic, not living in the house that we didn't want to live in, driving cars we didn't want to drive. And I had no time because I was delivering newspapers every morning, working on cars all day and into the night. So this turned all of that around for us, and there was no risk. I loved the products. All I did was share my story and what I knew about the science behind it, and it built a very lucrative business for us. So I became a consultant. So after I'm ordering a qualified order, once I have shared the product with two people that want to use it, and they order a minimal amount every month, then I'm qualified. I can now get paid on every single person that comes into my distribution center, either through me or somebody else. I get paid 6%. So that's leverage. That's where other people could be sharing and signing people up, and I get paid 6% on every order that they do. They pay that all the way through on unlimited depth for everybody. So the qualifier is 100 BV, and then start sharing it with people and sign them up. Get two people that'll use the product every month, and then you get paid on everybody. So I thought this was information. Well, it was information I was going to share with people anyways, whether I got paid or not, just like a good movie or a good restaurant or, a good place to go shopping for clothes. Only in this case, I was very passionate about it because it changed my health dramatically. And I saw that it was changing other people's health dramatically. I was changing people's oil, but I wasn't so passionate about that. Like, I wasn't like super excited to get up that morning to go change somebody's oil. And in fact, got to the point where I dreaded it. I've been changing people's lives for over 11 years now, and with Isagenix, and I love it. I'm more excited now than I've ever been. And just, when we receive something of value that really changes our lives and is changing other people's lives, I don't know that there's anything that we could do during the day that would be more worthy of our time. And it just seems to give you an extra bounce in your step and a passion and something to do that's worthy of our time. And we start to really fall in love with it. Like, it's like not work anymore. So this is what it's been for me. Now, you don't have to be involved with sharing it with anybody if you don't want to. You can just be a consumer. But you still get the products at the same price. I love it. Same membership, everything. So the company is really integritous. Their goal is to create the healthiest and wealthiest people on the planet. So $29 to get started. And again, that gets you into access to all of their products. And you just shop online. If you don't use a computer, or somebody that doesn't use a computer, there's a phone number you can call in, and they help you over the phone, an 800 number. So I want to stop there. I was going to go into some of the other products and the lifestyle, but I don't want to go. I wanted to stay under 45 minutes, so I'm just going to stop the presentation here. I have other presentations that talk about some of the other products that I was introduced to back in 2005, before Product B was even around. I've lost now total of about 63 pounds. 53 pounds of that I lost 11 years ago. And my energy and my cravings and everything got in control, and it just helped me to show up, every day, to be more engaged. Now I'm getting youthful. It's just the most amazing thing. I ran into somebody today that I haven't seen in a while, and they're like, wow, you are getting younger. And I'm like, Product B. And so it's a great message for those of you that are on here. And then for those people that that weren't able to be on here, it's a great opportunity for you to be able to get to them and share with them this information that will absolutely transform their life. There's no question. So thank you for getting on. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then I'll just check to see if there's any questions that anybody's typed in, and I'll answer those before we quit here. So let me stop the recording.